Yo,
Yo, what up?
dude, chilling. Yeah, my internet was being kind of fucking funky, but yeah, dude. So, fucking, how are you? How are things in Texas? What are things going down, son?
Shoot, man, just not a lot, man. Just working a lot and trying to get everything ready for my, you know, family to be. So,
Yeah, dude. I mean, that's got to be a fucking whole. Like, I couldn't even imagine the psychological, just like, oh my god, like,
actually, man, I,
is it
I I'm
cool?
take
Like,
I take it as a challenge.
yeah, dude. I mean, you're a
I
dad,
like
so like,
this is driving me to like accomplish my dreams. You need something in life to push for your dreams.
yeah,
Sometimes you need more willpower power than you need. So, you know. This is, I don't want to disappoint my, kid.
yeah. Obviously, I mean,
And I want to be
I'm
able
listening.
to,
Keep going, keep going. I just gotta grab my phone, but I can see you
yeah,
as I go around the couch. Just keep
yeah,
going, dog.
and be able to have whatever I want, keep the lifestyle I want. So, I've been busy. Like after I'm done talking to you, I got like 4 or 5 companies I have to talk to.
Oh hell yeah, dude.
So, and I have a couple of companies that I'm interested in selling my product into. So, and it's been a productive
There you
week,
go.
and I've been reading a lot of books. Think and Grow Rich. I can tell anyone right now, Think and Grow Rich will change your life. It really will.
Well, who's that
And
by?
I think every high school should have to read it. And business owners, managements,
Yeah.
well, they'll learn a lot from that. How to treat their employees.
Well, I mean,
Because
there's so
nowadays a lot of bosses just they really
yeah,
they treat you like you're lower than them when you should be, and always criticizing.
yeah.
They should point out the good things that happen and not get so.
I think our connection might be a little fudged. Ooh, there we go. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, Bond. Yeah. No, I see your point completely. We live in a society where it's kind of the shit runs downhill. You know what I mean? So, like, when you're the boss, you've probably been on for maybe not. You know what I mean? You got the company, your dad owned it or something, and he's just throwing you in there. But your average, dude, your self-made people, I mean, they've been shit on their entire lives. So when they get to that position, they're just like ready to shit on people backwards. It's almost just like this happened to me, so I'll do it to you. Almost like when you join the military, some people like soft almost. Then you got people in your fucking face every single day, and you just have this psychological like trauma happening every day, and it turns you into this more hardened individual, almost exactly like them screaming at you. You know what I
Yep.
mean? And then when the new recruits come in and say you were recruited once, like every drill instructor was a private point who got
Mhm.
yelled at by a drill instructor. So you know what I mean? Like that cycle kind of continues, and it's just like yelled on, and this is what made me into, and then I got to give this back, and then a new private's kind of come in, and this new drill instructor who was previously a private, gone through that whole training. I mean, whatever it takes to become a drill instructor. I'm sure there's
Yeah.
a lot of shit involved with that. It's not as simple as going up through the ranks probably, but because I don't think just anybody could probably be a drill instructor. I mean, yeah, anyone could probably join the military, not anyone, but you know what I mean. Like your average individual could join the military to become a drill instructor and like kind of like be right in people's face. That's a certain type of person. You know what I mean? Like not just anybody can yell at someone, but it doesn't mean you can't be a good soldier or anything. It's just
Yeah.
like there's a certain type of individual that like has that within them to bring stuff outside of people that they didn't know they had, but in a way that's just insane, obviously. You know what I mean? Like they're in your face, they're just destroying you so they can rebuild you back up.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's fucking nuts.
That's why when I have my own company, mine is gonna. I want to change the whole business world. Like we business owners and CEOs, managers treat people
Yeah,
of their employees, people are lower than the company, and that's what's it. And I love competition.
oh yeah, it
Competition
drives everything.
drives everything. That's why
Ooh.
I've been debating on doing this new advertising. It's not really hit Houston at all,
Yeah,
but I know once I start doing it, everyone start doing it. Just like
yeah, it's
digital
how the way it
advertising,
works. Like,
there's none in Houston, and everyone's just using billboards. Come on, let's drive the future right now, and innovation next step. So if you start doing it, these big companies, a lot bigger than you, is like, man, look, what he's
Look what
doing.
he's doing.
And then all of a sudden, you got this transformation that
Yeah.
starts happening.
Well, yeah, it's a cultural thing. It's just you got to lead the way. Like, I know there's a lot of like, obviously, we're getting crazy with technology and innovation right now. So, like, the ability to come up with all new forms of business are right there. I mean, like, we got holograms now, right? And like, there's what's it? There's more tiger something, or was it lion in Texas than there is fucking India or something that are in the wild. It's interesting to me. It's like, well, we've kind of created that situation and that whole like whatever, but we could literally transform what we know as zoos. You know what I mean? Like we don't have to have real animals in there. Like we're at the point where we could have hologram zoos. You know what I mean? Like holograms that are exactly of the animal and simulate all the algorithms and data and whatever of an actual lion or tiger and all the things it could do and all the probabilities of its environment in the fucking fake room. And like kids could actually go to this hologram zoo and learn just as much as they would learn and still see a physical like thing, pretending to drink water or playing with each other or doing what lions do because the algorithms are in there and it's the shape and it looks like a lion. And we wouldn't have to put real fucking lions in there and like put them in these states where they're depressed and fucking like hate
They
their
are.
lives. And like zoos are so depressing. And it's like the first person who kicked that off, dude, that would be so cool because not only like could you program their behavior, but you can make them do shit that a lion would never do. You know what I mean? Like something a lion would do, but probably never in a zoo. Like crazy battles and stuff. You could have like a room where you could simulate a lion chasing a gazelle in the room with you, and you could do that in real life. You couldn't just stand in a room with a lion and a gazelle and watch it hunt it and be safe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's so many applications for like technology now that it's retarded. So it's just how innovative do you want to get? How outside the box do you want to get? And money is everything. Obviously, like you couldn't have. I'm sure holograms do is pretty fucking expensive. I mean, it's been holograms all day, as opposed to feeding animals and letting them fucking die away in a cell.
Well,
But if you had
it
the
might be
money,
expensive.
it'd probably be drawing tons of people in because nobody would have a hologram zoo. It'd be the one.
It's use solar panels. Solar is so far that you probably use that, I think, to push green technology because green technology is the future for mankind.
Yeah, no,
So
really.
use natural resources, working with nature, not against it. Buildings that more are friendly, that actually imitate lands around it, and using clean energy. Because that clean energy, people say it's so impractical or expensive, but yeah, it's because in the long run, it's worth it. Like solar panels. If you know, it cost me $30,000. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, think about it. $30,000 solar panels for free energy. That's the start up front, and it's the cost up front, and pretty good for the life of it.
Yeah.
Or you spend what $100-$200 a month getting electricity from a power plant. Think about that. In 1 year, $2,000 or more, depending on how big your house is and how much energy you're using. So, in the long run, clean energy is better because you get the cost up front instead of over 30, 40 years. And while that's happening, you're destroying their environment. Unless you're getting the energy from, solar panels or wind or...
I mean, you can get really innovative with that too. You know what I mean? Like you're saying with the solar panels, like we haven't even got to the point obviously where like we have this technology, but I can imagine getting to the point where the shingling on your roof.
They already have it.
That's what I'm saying. Just fucking turn them things into solar panel shingles, like, or things like that. Just simple, quick fixes that aren't really. They're so passive. You know what I mean? Like, you never look at the shingles on your house. You never touch them. You never think of. But if they're there, get energy throughout your day. Like maybe even if it was just a quarter of the energy your house needs in a day, or a half, like that would cut down costs. But they're getting to the point, obviously, now where like the conversion from solar energy to electricity is becoming better and better. It's converting more solar energy into actual usable energy, and like we're getting better with the solar panels. Before you could only get like 20 of the use of the actual solar energy hitting the thing. Now they're getting up to like 30, 40, 50. And like obviously when we get to the point where like we really figure that out, so I think it's all what, like chemical.
Yeah.
It's because it's obviously the sun striking the surface that causes a chemical reaction, which causes kinetic energy. I would assume, which causes I have no clue. I'm not gonna pretend like I know.
Kinetic energy is the future too.
Yeah, and I just Tesla style, like I could literally see our entire like planet converting over into this utopian. I mean, like I get all idealistic and romantic about like, oh, utopian world where everything's perfect and we have free energy and all the stuff. I mean, even if we had all the free energy and stuff, there's probably not going to be a utopia. But I mean, we could literally create a world where, like when you go outside, there aren't fucking factories pumping smog out because they're trying to create some form of energy. There's, the paper mill, all these things like we're just fucking polluting and not thinking because it's combustion's the only form of energy we really rely on besides like was it hydroelectric like dams and stuff like that. But I mean, there's so many other things out there now, especially with solar, wind. They could fucking put some type of device in the ocean if they wanted electricity. All you would have to do is like have something that's spinning in that thing, and the waves are pushing it. Water's entire weight of the ocean pushing something around like that. It'd be nuts. So like you could harness free from probably all around the coast.
Even you walking, great energy.
Your car's tires spinning, having some type of like
generator.
Yeah, in the tires that power the car, and every time there's a revolution, you're charging your car up, or like just simple, quick fixes like that in society can literally change the way like we do everything. I mean, we could be more efficient in transportation, more efficient in pretty much all aspects of life. It's just that if you really want to think about it, it's like, where's the money going? You know what I mean? Like, what's keeping us from reaching those heights? And then thinking about that, we can quickly assume who's profiting from the world being the way it is and not heading in that direction. You know what I mean? Like, who's getting the money right now, aka the petrodollar, that's all based off oil. If we made a conversion from that to free energy, Tesla style, or getting rid of like the lines, you know what I mean, like the power lines and stuff like that with the fucking telephone pole and all that shit, like we don't have to have these giant fucking wooden posts in the ground with wires connected to them that connect to homes. Like we're in the future now. Like we're able to fucking have a generator outside your home that's wirelessly sucking that shit in and powering everything in your fucking home. Like it doesn't need to come from some place that's generating electricity, shooting it down a line, then charging you for every single like bit of energy you're using. Get to the point where everyone's fucking fueling their home, their car, everything they need with the power of the sun, water, fucking air, the elements, I mean, not just combustion, which is, a way to do it. I mean, that causes movement because of explosive force that causes, what's that? Radial energy or something, or, I mean, an explosion is obviously a 3C, burst in every single direction like a sphere. So, like when you have an explosion, you're causing like this kinetic motion to happen through the energy of combustion. But it's like there's other forms of energy out there. It's just interesting that we're so caught up in this one form, like cars with wheels and like this and that, when in reality, like we could have fucking flying cars. We could have electromagnetic cars that work off, like the monorail and stuff like that. I mean that thing reaches speeds of 300 miles per hour, something retarded, to where it can get you from.
I don't know why they don't make that across America.
A giant fucking monorail, that gets you to goes through all the states, and you could get to any state you wanted in like a day.
Yeah, transform
300.
Well, we already have rail systems, so I have next to them the boat trains.
Yeah, but like you could get green with it, you know what I mean? Because like an actual train runs off all this fucking shit, that runs stuck on the tracks, and that I mean they're both on a rail, but like the monorail or whatever that it's working off magnets and stuff. So the forward propulsion's based off of an electromagnetic system, obviously, and some energy has to be going into that, but like just the whole idea of like green, you know what I mean? Like everything in our world can be like brought right back to magnets and fucking the electromagnetic system. And like if we can find a way to like introduce that into technology more, we would find that things don't have to be as expensive as they are. They don't have to be the way they are. I mean, money is obviously, not directly linked into the technology, that's all economics. But like if we're cutting out, factories that require these taxes, all these things, you're just freeing money up. You know,
Yeah.
to be spent on other things as opposed to, oh, well, let's throw a couple billion at this project that's nowhere near like helping the world in any manner. It's just putting more pollution out there. Let's put another factory here. Or like see how many jobs we can create with, you know what I mean?
That's why America is falling behind in like
Oh
building
yeah.
wise. Like look overseas, they're pushing
Beautiful shit.
technology
Yeah.
to
New
the
heights.
limits. Like Dubai, the
Dubai's
United
nuts. It
States should be
looks
doing that
like
right
fucking
now.
like an Aladdin adventure in the future. Like everybody's still in fucking like sheets and whatever, wearing their stuff. Yet they have a fucking futuristic like Bugatti and Lamborghinis driving around, hotels that
Cop
are
cars.
spinning, fucking
Yeah.
like architecture that would blow us out of the water in
And
terms
you
of.
know they just built a huge city, like 60,000 people, a self-sustained city that they don't need anything from the outside.
I believe it. They got the oil. They already got fucking all the shit they need, and it's just interesting. Yeah, like you look at all these cultures outside America, and like America has kind of led you to believe that like, oh, we're America, like we're number one, and we're the best and everything. But it's like no, like we have that idea because like Hollywood's in America, and like so we feel like we're that important because we produce all the movies and we have like armies and shit. But in terms of like technology, that's introduced to the public. Like we
Yeah.
have tons of crazy black ops shit, I'm sure, and like government shit. But that aside, just what's open for the public, like yeah, we haven't revolutionized or innovated anything in America. Like I feel like in a long time. And then you look at a place like Germany or like other countries out there that are producing the energy they need for their
Korea.
entire town and more through solar or
Yeah.
through and like I saw the other day there was this giant glass sphere and it focuses the sun's rays through this giant sphere into a central point and then takes that energy and then push like I don't know how it all
It was
does it,
crazy.
but it looked crazy. It's passive. It's just a fucking giant glass thing and the sun's its own, and there's nothing going into that. Like you don't got no levers, no gears turning, no, you know what I mean? There's no kinetic motion needed to power it. It just is. And so like during the day when the sun's beaming down on that, it's just collecting all that energy. Like you could literally probably power the planet by just fucking filling the Sahara Desert, which doesn't have any people in it anyways. It's a desert, you know what I mean? Like the craziest parts on the earth where it's just fucking desert and sun with
Not
like
edible.
devices that fucking capture this energy. You could have like solar fields in the way that you have like corn crop fields for like miles, just like because nobody's out there anyways, you know what I mean? And
But
like
I
if the
was thinking of
sun goes
lightning
across it
too.
every day, like you could power entire nations with that.
Yeah, because I was thinking about collecting the energy from a lightning bolt. How would you be able to do
Benjamin
that?
Franklin style, you got to get a kite and a key, man.
Well, no, man,
Like
because one lightning strike can power like 10,000 homes or something like that. It's a ridiculous amount. How much energy and the on Earth every day, like 100,000 lightning strikes on Earth
there's a
or something more than that.
certain place on the earth where they get them like every day or something retarded, just happens to be geographically like where it is. Like they get a certain number a year that's like unnaturally high. It's known as like the thunderstorm valley or something like that where it's just constantly going. Yeah, if you hooked up like a fucking tower or some type of what's that word, I don't
One
know,
of Tesla's,
what.
one of Tesla's,
Well, yeah,
you
like a
know,
Tesla tower or something like that, but like it would have to, I don't know what the word is, fucking, I don't know, just the lightning has to hit the fucking thing, obviously, but to
and
do
have
that,
a
it has
generator,
to,
some sort of
well,
thing,
yeah, the generator's obviously powered by what, the lightning strike, anyways.
and that creates the energy for
Anything in the
houses.
air. I mean, you could, I know that once collected, I'm pretty positive in the same way you can with batteries and stuff, like once that lightning strike hits and you've captured it, they have ways of harnessing that energy and collecting it a while before it dissipates, I would assume.
It's something you have to figure out how to capture lightning because lightning is a hard thing to capture.
Well, yeah, I mean,
You
even
you
for
can
it to.
direct it, but you
But
have to
that's what I was
somehow.
wondering is like you could attract it with the tower, but is it necessarily going to hit the tower every time? Because I always thought it got to the thing closest to what allows it to ground itself. So like if the tower is fucking way up in the sky, it's obviously going to hit the tower first because it's the closest thing to the ground, or like you know what I mean.
Yeah,
But like I don't know if it's a guaranteed every single time it's going to strike that because it's the highest thing in the air, or if it just kind of attracts it in the same way like magnetism attracts a piece of metal, so it would get very close to it, but it might miss or if every single
Yeah.
time it's just gonna fucking dead on strike the top of that thing and harness that energy. But I agree with you completely because like there are a variety of ways, obviously, to be harnessing energy. I mean, there's so many different like creative ways to do this. I mean, if we really wanted to get nuts, we could like be jettisoning like things into our atmosphere just outside like the cloud layer, before we get to the Van Allen belt or anything like out of Earth, but just like where
Yeah.
satellite ranges, out
Hmm.
of our atmosphere, so that there's no clouds or anything, and you're in space, but not out of the Earth's kind of pull. And like you could have these satellites rotating around the Earth, collecting the sun's energy like 24 hours a day, depending on where they are in the Earth. Because obviously we're spinning, and then it's spinning around the sun, so things aren't always. But like you could put enough of them up there to where they are, and maybe like I don't know how you would get the energy from them though. But I mean that shit can be figured out. Like you just smarter minds than me, obviously. But like it's just the idea, putting forth these ideas because they're definitely doable.
Sitting on laser beam,
Oh yeah, hit a certain target and that heat. Yeah, then converting that energy from that
yeah.
form of energy
Because
into.
if you have the satellite collecting the sun from the energy from the sun, and then the satellite turns that into a laser beam that hits a plate on Earth that you know
Yeah, it would have
is
to be
in
mathematically like perfect. You know what I mean? Because like over mile, like
timing,
everything
everything.
would have to be. And then only that, like that can also be weaponized easily. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? We'll
hey,
just harness the power from the sun and strike the Earth somewhere. Like,
I think the Nazis were working on that actually. The Nazis they were working on a lot of
oh
things.
yeah, variety of different forms of technology.
Like most UFOs are captured Nazi technology, the Bell.
I mean, like I've seen that. I saw the Nazis working on the bell, like those photographs. I mean, like anything could probably obviously be faked or whatever. But a lot of these things, I'm reading and I'm researching and stuff. It's like, well, I mean, more than likely, because they were going so nuts in World War II in terms of technology to compete with each other in the war, that they probably made the bell. And what we perceive as like, oh, that's a UFO or a flying saucer or whatever, doesn't even have to be an alien. It could be fucking just Nazi. It could be technology left over from World War II. It could be USA. It could be, you know what I mean? Like, just
Well,
because it's unidentified, whatever, it doesn't mean it's an alien. I mean, I do believe in aliens, but I mean, it could just be, they're testing out shit that's top secret.
the government's hiding a lot of things about our past.
Oh,
They
of
just
course.
found a pyramid off the coast of Portugal or something like that.
The crystal one underwater, or
No, this is a stone one, and they believe it dates back to like 20 to 60,000 years.
yep.
And I was realizing the Bible. I tell people
I'm
the
still
Bible's
right
not.
here. I'm just gonna. I'm blazing my pipe,
All right, the
my tobacco
Bi-
pipe.
yeah. The Bible talks about what as more like just read it as a book and maybe some research and knowledge behind it. But when they talk about the flood, maybe there were actually a flood did happen because these pyramids
Yeah.
are underwater. So is it possible that the flood really did happen? Actually, there were beings here that way more. Maybe did the demigods did exist. That things out of the Greek
Yeah.
mythology
All
and
the. Yep.
why? Because it has a lot of similarities to the beginning of the Bible. How Earth was and everything. So, and why? And my other big question is why is the Catholic Church in Rome not in the Middle East, where
Well, I mean, for your first one there with the demigods and the Greek mythology and all that type of shit. My opinion of that stuff is just that I mean, it could be all psychological. You know what I mean? Like the gods represented archetypes within the human mind. You know what I mean? Like there's the warrior or like the lover, and like so like the gods were this cookie cutter like symbol for a certain idea or concept. Like Zeus was the father, you know what I mean? Hercules the son, and super strength. Like each one kind of embodied whatever psychologically that we experience as a human being throughout our lifetime. Like there's a I don't know there's a lot of Jungian archetypes in that, but then you could take it on a literal like these were actual people.
from a different plane,
Yes, either a
dimension,
different plane, different dimension, different planet, different something. Like they weren't human
and we
necessarily.
consider them as a god because they had
Yeah,
powers we can explain.
and like we use the word demigod because like God singular. You know what I mean? Like it's a form of godhood. but not quite, there. Like they're humanoid in the sense that like Hercules looked like a man, but he was definitely not a man. Like he's lifting up crazy shit and smashing bricks and stuff. So it's like he himself like may or may not even have been human. You could look human, but he may have been a demigod in the sense that he's performing feats that are something of the gods, which are people that beings that could not be seen in that time.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like when you always looked up at the gods in the heavens, Zeus, blah blah blah. But like Hercules was a man or a human or a demi. You have to use the word demigod because he was different than humans, but he still looked like a man. And so he had the container, the vessel of a humanoid, but wasn't human. So like he's a demigod. He's from the gods up there. But like up there, where's up there? Like when you keep going up, eventually you're in fucking space. Like you don't
Hmm.
end up in Mount Olympus, and you know what I mean, or what they thought the gods were, because they'd never gone to space. So I would assume like at nighttime they have pretty primitive fucking like ideas of what space was, and like what the blue shit up there is with the clouds. Whereas today, like we have NASA and we have all this information, so it's not as like ambiguous to us. Like we're seeing planets and galaxies across the solar system. So for us, we've got it down to like science, but for them, everything was the gods. So like they had a very like spiritual reason for all the happenings going on, and like something like a person being able to perform feats like that, but he looks like a man. Like how are you capable of doing these things? You must be an offspring of the gods. So we'll call you a demigod because you're not one of us, but you're not one of them. And so
Yeah.
they walk in between those two worlds. I mean, something, or even Zeus. I mean, like they say the gods, but like Zeus, if you believe any of the legends and shit like that, he did a lot of like coming down from Olympus to Earth realm and like doing some crazy shit. He would turn into animals and like have sex with people and like do fucking weird shit. And basically, eventually, like what?
I'm gonna ask you a question.
Oh yeah,
Did you answer the phone before City called?
yes,
Okay, and then you said that I got the job.
no, call back.
Oh.
I'll let you know in a sec. But yeah, so like the dude basically like comes down to earth, does all his shit, but like I was thinking obviously the demigods can be one class and then like there were the gods. But like everyone when they think about the gods, like they're looking up at this thing that they've never seen. But then there's versions of the gods where they take on incarnation. And so like Zeus came or Ares is a good one, the god of war, would fight in these giant battles and be crazy because he was a god. So he'd just be slaughtering people by the hundreds and thousands and shit. But like he had a physical form, but he wasn't a demigod, he was a god. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? There's so many ways to take all these things, and I mean, obviously, that's a very literal way of taking those. Like, oh, they existed, and then like people are like, oh, you believe that? I mean, there's many different ways to even believe that one facet. Like, you could believe it in a religious sense, like you believe in the Greek gods, or you could believe there were aliens that came to fucking Earth, pretended to be gods, and taught us a lot of shit, and then like left and like Thor and all these different, it doesn't matter what religion, these gods, these people that have helped influence different cultures and stuff may have been like visitors. But that's the ancient alien theory. And obviously that delves into a whole bunch of other shit too. So like by believing like whatever version of reality, it's weird because you get like typecasted into this one version. I try to like
I
be very
think
open
government
minded.
knows
Oh, of
a
course,
lot more
I think
than
they know a lot
we know,
more,
period.
but I think that like it's weird because I look at it and I mean there's an infinite amount of ways of looking at it, but like
I
you
mean, the
could
very select few. Like, I mean, there's probably a group of men who,
that's what I'm
or and
saying. Like
women
I don't think the
that
whole
know
government
more than
knows.
any of us combined because, the research is because you have
I
money,
think it's a
you,
group. You know
yeah.
what I mean, or multiple groups, but I don't think it's like everyone in the CIA knows or like this branch knows. I think it's like they pick individual people and like so maybe like fucking Susie Smith, CIA operator, director, whatever official dude knows, but she's the only one there in her like whatever because they try to like compartmentalize everything. So like you don't know this because you don't need it. You're not told any more than you need to know for a reason. And so like that's how they keep you in the dark and keep everyone in the dark so you can move the chess pieces without them fucking with you. You know what I mean? You keep everything nice and neat. And so like I don't think it's like everyone in the CIA is in on it, man, or like I think there's very different levels and even if you acquired a high level, like say you got I have a clearance 8 pass. It allows me to know all these things. Or I'm double black, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? There's different codings. I'm above top secret. And, like, so I think obviously you can rise through those levels of clearance or security clearance to know certain things. But obviously they don't let you know anything you don't need to know that doesn't pertain to what you're working with. So, like, yeah, you have a Section 8, whatever, clear, I'm making this shit up, clearance to know anything in a Section 8 class level classified shit up to that level, but you couldn't just go around in the Section 8 and start probing different random shit because it doesn't pertain to what you're personally working with. So they compartmentalize everyone like that to keep everyone in the dark. Because if you were just allowed to, like, look up anything that ever had to do with anything from 8 downwards, you probably start finding some weird discrepancies, or you know what I mean? So, like, they only want you working on your individual shit, and you don't need to know anything else about anything else. Just do what you're told. Don't talk.
Yeah.
And so, like, by doing that, they can have easily, one person in the FBI knows, or, this specific dude knows, this woman knows in the CIA, this person in the Homeland Security, the president maybe. Like, the president's the president, but at the same time, he doesn't fucking know everything. Like, there have been presidents that have been completely left out of the dark. Like, the president's just the face for America. Like, that's his job. But, like, then there's this whole other fucking separate group, like a group of people that are actually influenced by money and power that aren't the president, that influence the president and tell him what to be doing. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure he makes his own decisions and he's a human being and does what he does. But, like, I also am sure that there's a lot of people who are whispering into his ear. Or, like, it gets as deep as you want to go with it. But, like, I think just personally, when everything is compartmentalized like that, it makes it really hard to tell, like, it's so squeaky clean, you know what I mean? Like, you can't just go and everyone in the CIA knows, and you would never know who's in on it in the society we're talking about, or this group, or cabal, or whatever you want to call it. Because there's obviously, you can't act like there haven't been conspiracies. Like, I'm not saying that every single conspiracy that's ever come up, was right. Definitely not. There's so many crazy fucking conspiracies out there and disinformation, and, like, there's so much information out there now. It's like, how do I know what's real and how do I know what's bullshit? Or how do I know what's real but tinged with a little bit of bullshit? Or how do I know it's bullshit but has some truth in it? I mean, exactly. It's that explosion of information and disinformation that's just pushed out there. So it's really hard to wade through that and decipher. And if there's certain times where obviously it's really easy to, like, fall prey to certain thoughts and beliefs that are other people's because they look like they're backed so intelligently. And then so you start believing them and they become a part of you and, like, how you deal with the world and people and how you feel about the world. And then come to find out when you grow a bit wiser and more mature and you aren't limited by those beliefs anymore, and you're like, oh shit, what was I thinking? Like, that guy was nuts. Like, why was I thinking that for so long just because some guy made a YouTube video? You know what I mean? Like, stuff has to be really researched, and, like, even when it is, it's like sometimes you'll never know. Like, I got into this conversation, did we land on the moon or not, with a group of people in a forum the other day, just to, like, throw things, around, just to, like, see what different people thought. Like, I don't care. Like, I mean, I think we landed, but, I mean, I could see the explanation for people thinking we didn't at the same time, and that it
You
was
ever heard
fake
of
with Stanley Kubrick and, like, him directing the 2000 whatever Space Odyssey and him just, like, helping film that footage and stuff, and then him mysteriously dying after. I mean, like, if you want to get really crazy with it, like, there's a fucking fact for everything out there that can lead you down the rabbit hole of craziness. Like, there's a path for everything. So, but anyways, to act like there aren't conspiracies out there, though, is not true either. You know what I mean? Because at the same time, there's plenty of times where people have cohorted or conspirated to cause events to happen. You know what I mean? Like, that conspiracies happen every day. Like, 9/11's a conspiracy. Fucking somebody conspired to fucking hit a plane into a building and did it.
Yeah.
That's a conspiracy. Like, you know what I mean? Like, conspiring happens all the time. Like, I was listening to Joe Rogan, and he was fucking talking about, like, when you go to a party and you're trying to have sex with a girl or something, and you have a pregame in your head, and you have this, like, oh, I'm gonna do this and this and that, like, that's conspiring. If you're acting like it's not human nature to conspire to do things to get your way, then you're crazy. Because, like, it's human nature. Like, people conspire all the time, whether it's to get a fucking soda at a restaurant for free, or, like, to Like whenever you come up with something in your head that like I'm gonna get this, how am I gonna do it, and then you do it, like you conspired.
So don't you think machines would be better
So I
off
mean, there's
running?
plenty of times where America has conspired, or like the government has been involved in conspiracies. Whether it's the Gulf of Tonkin incident, where we conspired to get ourselves into this incident through like faking news and stuff. So it's like there's been times where like the government, yes, has been caught conspiring. Nixon,
So
you know what I mean? He was conspiring with Watergate, like the president. Like there's been times where conspiracies have gone down, but it's like, is every conspiracy with the government correct? No, but like some of these like conspiracies definitely involve investigation, I believe. But that's me.
so don't you think that machines would be in the parts of society?
Machine, what?
Machines, intelligent machines, kind of making what laws make sense and stuff like that. Making decisions for
Well, I
humans.
mean, I feel like when we get into that, the machines that you're talking about have been created by humans, right? Are they
Artificial.
aliens? Well, no, I mean, like,
Artificial.
who created that artificial intelligence? Who
Well, I
programmed
guess
it?
the first one and then the second one would be created by
Okay,
machines.
that's what I'm saying. That one I might be scared of, but, like, the original, like, I mean, yes, it would still be deadly and all. It would be crazy theory to, like, think about. But, like, I feel like with the original, it's created by a human. So, like, it's limited in the sense that, like, all of its algorithms, all of its knowledge, like it's based off of like humans still. Like it's not like I don't know what the word is like self created or like I don't know. But the second one would be yeah crazy. If the first one was like really well done, I feel like because I could see like Matrix style like machines starting to create themselves. Yeah, and it gets nuts like movie style like Terminator like or maybe even for the positive. I don't know. I mean, it can go either way. It's like and it's like why can it go either way though? It's weird.
Yeah,
Like, what's wrong about like why are we leery about robots?
yeah. That's my question because you
Is
think
this
about
not
robots
alive
and
or like? But is
they
a
don't
human
get
a
tired.
lot? Like,
They don't get tired. They do what they're told to do. They don't. They know yes and no. They don't know. They don't get. They can't get manipulated by man. And they can be. Hey, I bribe you this. You can't because they don't care. The
that's
things that
true.
we care about, machines don't care about at all. So they'd be following our set of rules and would make our society probably a lot safer
I
and
feel like in
totally different,
certain
more efficient,
aspects though, because
more
like
efficient.
a machine can't make judgment in the sense well it can make judgment calls in a like simulated algorithm sense like computed logic sense but not in an emotional sense I feel like in the fact that like oh this kid's gonna die or should I go after that bad guy or it has to make a decision or something like as a human be like oh I gotta save that kid's life whereas the prime directive of the robot might be like always capture a bad guy or you know what I mean like you would have to specifically program all these like
Well, the
but if this
machines
happened,
could
you have to.
read.
And how? Which one do you pick? Do you always pick life, and then that's dictated on just the person who made that program? He might be an asshole and be like, "No, go after the bad guy always." Whereas some other programmer might be like, "Save the kid," and then
Well, the
that
machine
robot's its
will
own.
learn on his own. What do you do? Because you look at the body, the kid who was shot, and see the probabilities of living or not. And then, if from based on that judgment, you can go after the target or save the kid's life.
Yeah,
Because
I just thought because of RoboCop, I watched that the other day, the
that's
new
a good
one.
movie.
Yeah, dude, and like
That's
I seen the
badass.
original, and then I watched this one, and I was like, oh shit, they remade it, and like he looks badass with like the black, and they got all pretty. When they
The
fucking
machines in it
took him
too.
apart, and he was just the like head with
Oregon.
the fucking. I was like, oh, I couldn't imagine, dude. You'd be tripping sack. You're just like a head, your spinal column, and your lungs.
Be insane. Oh my
That's all you
god.
have, and like you can't feel your body anymore, and you're just like, and then it just pieces back into you, and you have this like Iron Man suit, like.
Well, I think the machines are the future of protecting Americans. Period. On the
Well,
ground.
yeah, I think for policing the pro, you'd be so good, but you would have to like really like
Because they
test
wouldn't,
that,
they
dude, because
wouldn't
they
mess.
could
They would
shoot
not.
civilians. They could like, what I mean, there could be errors. Matt, like think about your computer. Like think about how many errors you get on your fucking Windows, whatever. Imagine a thing capable of killing at a high freak like crazy gets a virus or something. Like one of those machines gets like the ghost in the with Ghost in the Shell, like a random string of data causes like this data to crash, and it causes random sequences of new algorithms to just be created because of the virus is causing the system to crash. So then, in a sense, it becomes sentient and like it's. I don't know how to describe it, but like the Ghost in the Shell is like this weird. I think it's when a random string of data code just messes up and like it causes
Transforms.
yeah non-intended things in the code to happen. So like new lines of data get created or
It
something
could be
like
better
that.
for
And
good.
like you could have this fucking robot running around that used to be a police robot, like all militarized out, and now it has a virus and like Windows 98 style, a blue screen of death. It crashes and it just goes around and start killing people. Like but there should
Yeah.
just be a failsafe, so like an off switch or like
Yeah, you can shut it down from
well they have to have
somewhere.
a power source too, so like I would assume
Well, I already figured that out. Kinetic energy from them walking and moving around, that could transform that energy, and from the sun through
well
the
the
skin,
sun, yeah.
the sun, and through walking from kinetic energy, and basically a lot of moving parts. Because every time you move, you create energy.
Yeah,
Why not reharness that energy?
that's true.
Or you can
There are
go.
ways, like you just have to think it
Uh,
out. Like I'm always open to like the possibility that like yeah, it can get really fleshed out. Like I don't believe that anything's not possible. You just have to sit there and think about it for a while. Like anyone who's ever come up with crazy ideas had to come up with them, you know, when they didn't exist. Like
yeah.
Tesla's tower, like what the fuck was he thinking? Like, oh, I'm just gonna harness energy from the air.
Yeah, no, it all comes from the mind, man. But I think machines would be a perfect thing for for the police force. Get rid of the police officers because
Yeah,
they
the
wouldn't be caught up
bias
in
and the yeah,
corruptions. The police officers would be more like kind of sitting back just in case something fails. You
yeah,
know,
like there's this different style of yeah. Because if the robot, and then that would save lives too, in terms of like officers being shot, and like you could send the robot in to do a bust, or you know what I mean, different things. Like it wouldn't be as like they're trained and like if that thing gets shot, it's like whatever, we lost some money. You know what I mean? Like you're not losing a
fix
person's
it too.
life. I'm talking about serious like police work though. You know what I mean? Like legit shit. Like there's some crazy shit like with murderer, gang, insane. Everyone's gonna kill someone. You know what I mean? Like obviously, like I mean those situations like that'd be ideal. Obviously, I'm not supporting like a crazy police presence at all. But like
Listen, in some neighborhoods there should be almost militarized
no, but that's what I'm
presence.
getting at. Like if you just had this crazy robot dude like on the corner who's there 24/7. Is just you'd act as an arbiter, you know what I mean? Like you don't have to feed that dude, you know, he has nowhere to go. Like he's just there on the street, like that's his where he's supposed to be, standing on the and like the really crazy zones. And he's not an asshole or anything. He's probably just inactive and just watching with his eyes until like crime goes down.
Well, I mean, like parts of Chicago, big cities where there are high crimes, high murder rates.
Yeah, stuff
Oh,
like
they
that where
should
it's
have
like yeah.
heavy presence, police presence, military presence, one of it, and crack down on those neighborhoods. Crack down. Do what's necessary to control those neighborhoods because some of those neighborhoods are out of control. If little kids are walking down getting shot, and just
Shit, yeah, I know. They've gone to like corrupted levels. It's like a fucking apple rotting. And in certain areas of our country it's just fucking gross. It's getting
and that
like
needs more focus on those neighborhoods.
there's no
Education is
nutrients
the number
going in,
one thing
dude.
we got to do in
Yeah.
America. Is education reform. I'm 100% reform of the education system because right now we're lacking. We're a bunch of dumb Americans with money. We're Americans. Americans are people with money that intelligence is lacking in the education system, which we lead in everything. A lot of things we lead in, but education we lack in.
Yeah,
And
dude.
education is expensive. The teachers not always should be teaching. What we learn is totally not how we should be learning. There should be more science, and there should be more money going to education than any, you know, helping people out in the military. We should be taking that and put it into the education system. Instead of spending $600 billion on the military. That's 3 or 4 times the size or anyone's budget in the world. and take maybe 60 to $100 billion of that money to education system to better the future of Americans or here in their
I mean, I
schools.
definitely agree, dude. I think that at one point, like, we have the military spending tons and tons of money. I mean, but like, it's like I understand in certain senses, but at the same time, I don't, because I don't really support war. But I understand, like, you can't. There's gonna be war. Like, I can't act like there's not gonna be war. Like, it's human nature to like be predator. We're a predatory race. Like, you gotta come to terms with the fact that like we hunt, and, like do things, and that's just in our nature. So there's probably gonna be incidences of people like with sick minds trying to hunt other people or fight other people or cause violence, like, and there needs to be people there to stop those people. So like that automatically creates this, like, when a force comes this way, to keep it from coming, you have to have an opposing force of equal, like, and by doing that, like, the people that have to be that opposing force have to be crazy. And so, like, we have to have soldiers. We have to have, police. We have to have, because there's people, like, in our country that are bad people, murderers, rapists. Well, I mean, thieves need to be, caught or whatever. But, like, murderers and rapists, or I would put it, the child molesters, stuff like that, top of the list. But, like, I mean,
Yeah.
those that, like, or, stuff like that. But, like,
Execution for them, human experiments,
human
and
experiments for them.
yeah, man. Listen, they want to act like animals, so we should be able to lose everything they have for human
That reminds
and
me
be
of
able to further. If they're gonna die anyways, there's no point in experimenting with people who are serving life terms. There's no point to keeping someone in a cell when we can be further advancing in technology and learn more about human bodies and everything else if
That'd be
we
so fucked, though.
experiment
Like,
on humans who lose all the rights for acting like animals.
I don't know. That'd be fucking nuts. Like, 'cause I imagine a horror movie about that.
It would be a lot,
Like those
you know.
labs, you know what I mean? What's going on in those labs? They'd be testing
There's
some
labs around the world
fucking
that they're doing some
weird
fucked up shit.
shit, dude. I mean, I know that I'm not gonna act like they probably aren't doing that somewhere right now. You know what I mean? Like, exactly what we're talking about. I'm sure there's some fucking dude strapped down, being experimented on about something somewhere. But they're splicing some genes and some frog babies born. Like, I don't know. Like, there's so many
I'm sure
different
they're doing some fucked
possibilities.
up shit around the world.
It's
But,
fucking
you
nuts.
know, we gotta think about this prison system in America because it's
It's for
overcrowded. A lot of
profit.
people
It's
shouldn't be
all
going to
for
prison. They
profit
should be
now.
working. They should be, instead of going to prison, instead of going to prison, they do 1 week of labor for the community or for the state for building projects, things we're lacking in. And after that week, you know, they go back to work. You know, and
People
like
will be
other
committing
crimes.
crimes like left and right then. You know what I
What?
mean? Like, well, there's this theory in like criminal justice that like the harsher the punishment, the more less likely you are to do something. So the reason the punishment is so harsh is to get you from performing the act entirely. And like at times, yeah, like the punishment is not as equal to what the act was, but the reasoning is because by raising the punishment, they'll deter people from even performing the act. But like
Yeah.
if you're only putting people, making them work for like a week, and then they get to go back, like then they would probably be more likely to do it over and over again. Because I'm only going to jail for a week if I
Hard
get
labor,
caught.
not hard labor.
Yeah, but like what type of crimes would
Like
someone?
crimes, drug. You
Oh,
know, this
okay.
reason, drug. I'm talking petty crimes, drugs.
I thought you were talking like like crazy shit, like
No, anyone who's convicted of murder, rape,
So
robbery,
you're saying like
burglary.
misdemeanors and like
Yeah,
stuff like that should have like maybe a week of
community
whatever,
service,
and
some
then
like labor, some sort of
felonies
labor.
should be
Well,
prison.
robbery, burglary, murder, child molestation, that, rape, execution. Even within a week of being sentenced, without a doubt. All right, can't be no doubt.
I mean, maybe for the. It just depends, dude.
And don't
Because
make
like
them
some
wait
people
20
go to
years.
jail like for like I've heard plenty of cases. What would you do for the? Because if you set the law up that way, then it's kind of black and white. And there's so many gray cases where like people say you went out to the bar, you got real drunk, and some guy's fucking with you, and he punches you in the face. You take it, and you get up, and you just fucking blow, and you crack him right in the face, and he dies. and then you go to jail because you
Shouldn't be going to jail
yourself,
for that.
like then you should be murdered as well.
Self-defense is different than murder. Murder is
Yeah, but like
premeditated.
there's plenty of times where
Premeditated.
like the dude, I don't know, like involuntary manslaughter, or like there's been times where people have been like convicted of like you're going to like what was that fucking movie Con Air, Nicolas Cage, you like
I'm not talking about fighting like that. I'm talking about not protecting yourself. I'm talking about premeditated murder. You're gonna go out
okay, yeah, that's
and
different.
kill
That's
someone.
different.
You know,
Yeah. I mean,
and
when
I'm
you
gonna stab
accuse
this person
someone
back.
yeah, doing that, then yeah, that's different than like manslaughter or like
I'm not talking manslaughter or premeditated.
or
That you're thinking gonna do. You know, you're going out to do a drive-by shooting. Your intent is to kill.
yeah,
You know, in a
well, yeah,
fight,
the intent that's you have to prove in court anyways. Is like what was the intent? Like,
because in a fight, man, things can go. When you're fighting someone, if you didn't start it, you know, you're gonna fight. You can think about this is my life in danger, so I gotta do whatever I have to do
yeah,
to
to
make sure the
preserve your
person.
life. Obviously, if you feel you're threatened in a life, which most of the time people should feel threatened to that level if you're in a fight. You know what I mean? Like it's not like they end so badly. It's not a movie where like you get hit 100 times and then you get a couple bruises and then you're like, oh, like that's not how it works. Like you get hit once, your teeth blow out, and then your skull crashes into the cement and snaps open. Like I watched that happen outside a bar once, and the guy was done. One punch, like ambulance is coming, blood just pouring out the back of his head, teeth busted in, like it's fucking nuts. But that's what I'm saying. Like that's a real fight. They end very quickly once somebody gets hit in the head. Most of the time. There's no gloves. There's no gloves out in the fucking. You know what I mean? Like a bare knuckle.
Yeah, that's why. You know, the crime has to be punished differently. You know, not everyone needs to go to prison for the shit they do. You know, marijuana. Come on, all right. That's dumb to put anyone in prison for marijuana, especially if anyone's using it on their own. All right, if they're using it on their own, they're not dealing it, and they're smoking it out of their own house. Well, who cares? That's their own problem. You know what? Every person has the right to do whatever they want to themselves.
Yeah.
But not to others. You know, if you put the public in danger, that's a different story. But someone smoking marijuana or selling marijuana, going to prison for.
I know. I love how they act like that's the biggest. Like, oh my god.
Then marijuana. Period. All right. Alcohol causes so much problems. Period. Because you think about it, drunk driving. You know, fucking people die all the time. Drunk driving, fights. You know, people do dumb shit when they're alcohol because your brain's not there. When you're smoking, you know, you smoke some weed, get high.
Yeah.
You know what you're doing. You can control yourself. You're mellowed out. So
I know they make it sound like this
beating the shit out of
crazy
anyone.
thing. Like the one time, like I remember one of the first times I got really fucking high, just like I'm ripped. Like, and I had to drive too. Like I just didn't drive. Like I was smart. I'm not dumb. Like I'm not drunk. You know what I mean? Like people act like it's this thing. Fucking bought a pizza like a normal person
and passed the fuck out.
And I ate all that shit, and then I was full. I felt great. I was smiling. Then I was ready to drive, and then I went where I needed to go.
Exactly, and you know, marijuana. People was using this propaganda from the 40s and 60s and 70s when they try to ban it for good. Hey, first of all, marijuana should have been illegal in the first place. It was a racist idea. It really the
original with William Randolph Hearst when he said that marijuana was for was causing
blacks and
Hispanics to rape white women.
Look at that. That is the most.
And he controlled all the newspapers and owned them. So when he ran that story, everybody was like, "Oh my god! Like this new drug is like, it's crazy. We can't have this. Oh, none of that." Like,
and so we should.
I think you're cutting in and out, my good sir.
Because it was based behind racial remarks instead of based on evidence. And if President Obama or in Congress believe in American rights, they should turn that around because, and if you know, race, that's a racist thing. That's truly a racist You know, and
Yeah,
that's
I
back
mean,
in the
and
day.
once it was banished in that form, then that's when all the propaganda started fucking flying in. Reefer Madness and like all these movies that are like, if you smoke weed, you'll go crazy, like, and just
Yeah,
like nuts things. So like, people's idea of what it even does to you, what it is so misinformed. And then the fact that like just the benefits economically for the plant alone, regardless of the THC or getting high, just the plant, just the fiber, you could literally turn this country around just for the hemp. And
yeah,
then as a
paper.
material, paper, clothes, fucking car, anything. Then houses, then there's the medicinal value of the plant without smoking it. That's good just in oils and stuff for your body and just like then there's the nutritional value, which is in the form of the hemp seed, which is like a full amino acids. It's one of the fullest out of all of them. It's like superfood. The hemp seeds are nuts. You should see some shit about that online. And
Yeah,
then you can get high off that shit.
yeah,
And
yeah. It
people will
is.
buy
It's so much
that. So the nutritional, high, and then there's like,
economic
yeah,
for
just,
paper. 1 acre of hemp is compared to like 10 acres of trees that 10 acres trees take about 5 to 10 years to mature to cut,
yeah.
and it takes 3 months for hemp to get mature. So you're talking about two
Compared to a
harvests
tree
a
that
year,
takes years.
and compared to one acre, 10 acres, and this only takes 3 months. This takes 10 months, 10 years. Sorry. Hello, anyone in the right mind's like, I can make a lot more money on this than on
Yeah.
this tree. I have to wait 10 years instead of 3 months. Oh, I have to wait, and I can start producing things that are environmental better. They're anti-pesticide.
I know,
No,
dude.
you don't even spray anything on those things,
You sell the
and you can
buds,
maybe
sell
even
the
turn
seeds,
into
sell the
that.
hemp.
Hey, you may even turn that hemp, that chemical that keeps those plants away from, keeps bugs away from them, into a product to spray on trees that are more natural, on your veggies and
Yep.
fruit, to keep them away from that pesticide, since it's a natural pesticide, not a chemical
Yep.
made by man.
I mean, there's a lot of, and then not to mention like how you can turn like whole states around, like what they're doing in Colorado right now, and then they're giving them back. I think it's a certain amount of the money to the schools, and then like certain things like that. So like you could, with all this crazy money that's being made from this venture, if it was just legalized, which is perfectly fine therapeutically. There's so many benefits. Like people just need to read like and get educated. They just don't want to, or they don't care, or they don't want to be
They're too
involved.
angry.
Or yeah, you know what I mean. It's the typical mentality of just like, oh, you pothead, I don't want to be a burnout, blah blah blah. It's like, dude, some of the most successful people in the world smoke weed,
Or
like
do
the most,
acid.
yeah, or did acid or shrooms or did expanded their mind, and the reason they are in the position they are in, and the reason you're in the position you're in, is because they did something different than you. I mean, and I'm not advocating like any of that shit or saying that you have to do any of that shit to be successful or any of that stuff. I'm just saying it's a weird coincidence that some of the most successful people on in the planet have done psychedelics and even advocate them. And like we're getting to the level with research and like I don't know, it's just nuts like in terms of like how you could literally turn someone's life around with like one of the like with the single shroom. Well, maybe not single shroom, but like well
A
maybe for some
couple
people, but a couple.
sessions.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Just like a couple experience, or even just one can completely change the way you look at the world, your how you act within it, how you treat people. Like I know anytime I've ever done a psychedelic, like the one thing I always like recap on is like, oh, I'm an asshole. Like I gotta change, or like I gotta figure out like I always find a way to try to better myself. Like it makes you have this cold, hard look at yourself and what you're doing, and like, or even your place right now in life, and like just how you're treating people. Like you get real critical, and like you just everything comes to the surface, and like you
Yeah,
got to deal with it right then. Like it's just interesting. It's like these trials or initiations, but each one's like. Like you go through this crazy experience, you come out the other side, or most of us do anyways, and you're fine. You know what I mean? Like you're still fine. Like it's not like people think you go crazy after you do the stuff. Maybe you go crazy if you're a crazy person, or if like you have some unresolved fucking shit. You know what
yeah,
I mean? Like this whole idea that you're gonna like do a bunch of psychedelics and like crack your back one day and start tripping, and it's like, that's bullshit. Like that's
Yeah, that's
research.
actually proven false.
That's bullshit.
That it
And
does
like
not
people, I hate it when
actually.
people throw that shit around. Like I just don't want my brain to. I want permatrip, and it's like you're not gonna fucking permatrip. Like unless you're crazy, unless you have
Yeah.
schizophrenia or you have like bipolar, like unless you already have a mental illness, which then I would not advocate doing this stuff. Then like you're gonna be fine. You're gonna come out of this, or maybe even if you did have a mental illness, it might fucking help you. You know what I mean? If you're depressed and there are all these different things, like
That show depression helps.
well, it
Mushrooms
does, and
doing
the
mushrooms
reason it
helps.
helps is because the experience opens your eyes to reality and
Oh
like what
yeah,
this
I when I did it
really is.
when I did that night, my life changed. I started life a little bit differently,
Yeah,
and I started something to change about myself that day when I did it. I changed that little part of me. I took my time when someone says something to me, reply to me, through a mail or whatever, or if I want to rush something, I take my time, think about it, see the other, what's good and wrong, and I had so much positive experience, and I've been craving to, do another, I want to do a little stronger. I want to do
no, yeah.
some,
Let's see how far you can go.
well,
So
I
that's
want to, do DMT. That's my really ultimate goal. I would love to do that because I think there's a lot of spiritual behind it that I thirst for, and I just like doing them my grandfather always said, every couple of years you gotta eat some mushrooms because
dude.
you see
That is
life,
so true though. Like once
see
you've done
life
it, you know
differently.
why. Like
Yeah, I can't, you don't, people who are doing it, who never done it, don't understand until
yeah,
you
it's hard.
actually do it. And once you do it, you're like, think about it. Most people that have done it, they like, yeah, I actually liked it, and positive experiences for the most part. You got to be in the right mind setting. And same with, marijuana. Once the
Same,
person smoked
yeah.
it 1 or 2 times, after the third time, they like, no, you mellows you out, and it helps you a lot. I use it more for medical purposes and more spiritual. I don't use it just to get high. I do it for more medical than anything.
Yeah, dude,
And
it helps with the body, just lower back and fucking pains and shit, like for
in my
sure.
mind, calm my mind down, let
Yeah,
it slow down a little bit. So, it helps actually. Smoking marijuana actually helps my speech a lot better too. I have good speech, but actually slows my mind down so I can actually get the wording out.
yeah, I know. I'm the same way, dude. I want to speak as fast as I can think, and
Yeah,
like so, and I'm always like, but it's just like you can't. You have to slow it down.
yeah. You know what we should
Choose
do
your words wisely.
is we should make a podcast and talk and let's advocate about marijuana.